The mighty All Blacks have been the gold standard for rugby for almost 5 decades now, and whilst many teams come and go, the All Blacks are always at the top in some way or another. Even with the Springboks winning the 4th Webb Ellis Trophy, New Zealand rugby still carry that aura around them. So let's find out why and look at 15 times the All Blacks showed the world who is boss. At number 15, we have to start with the moment that made the All Blacks become a mainstream team, and this goes back to the semi-final performance of the 1995 Rugby World Cup. In a tournament where the All Blacks were clear favourites, no one was surprised to see them breeze through most of the group stages en route to the final. However, the game against England was mostly a formality, and everyone expected New Zealand to find themselves in the final. What no one expected was to see a rampaging bull of a man named Jonah Lomu utterly destroy defences and run in 4 tries. Whilst the other semi-final kept everyone on the edge of their seats, no one can deny the 49-26 thrashing from the All Blacks over England. Labelled as the greatest game ever played, our number 14 spot goes to the 2000 Bledisloe clash between the Wallabies and New Zealand. With the hopes of capturing their first Bledisloe Cup since 1997, the Wallabies were ready for this game. The All Blacks opened the scoring in the first 3 minutes when Tana Umaga crashed over, and at one point the All Blacks held a 24-0 lead. However, the Wallabies fought their way back, going into the break at 24 apiece. The second half was close, and with minutes to play, the Wallabies sealed it 35-34, but the All Blacks were down, but not dead. Once again, Lomu would crash over in the dying minutes, winning the game 39-34 for the All Blacks. Number 13 brings us closer to the present, and we have to look at the 2023 Rugby World Cup, where the All Blacks demolished a somewhat impressive Italian side. Having absorbed their biggest defeat against the Springboks in recent memory, the All Blacks had a point to prove. Going out against an Italian outfit with ambitions of competing for a playoff berth should have proven much tougher than it was. The All Blacks put on a 14-try show to demolish Italy by 96 points to 17 when the final whistle blew. Even the All Black kicking was on point, only missing a single attempt at goal. Sticking to the Rugby World Cup, number 12 shows us just how good the All Black heritage is. The 1987 final between New Zealand and France will forever be remembered. As the Rugby World Cup took centre stage for the first time, no one knew who would win. New Zealand was the clear favourite, but they proved this in the final. Finals are notoriously close in the world of rugby, but a 29-9 demolition of the French made New Zealand the first ever Webb Ellis holders. Thanks to David Kirk and John Kirwan, the All Blacks stunningly sealed the deal and showcased incredible running rugby. As the Springboks edged closer to participation in World Rugby, they had the opportunity to host New Zealand at Ellis Park in 1992. Our number 11 spot shows us how New Zealand demonstrated they are still the best. The Springboks might argue that they would have won more Webb Ellis trophies, but when the two teams met in 1992, it would be the All Blacks who came out as victors. Thanks to a quick tap from Zinzane Brooke, the Boks were left defenceless with a final score of 24-27. But for the next few years, New Zealand would struggle to win a series in South Africa. At number 10, we look at how the All Blacks finally ended the drought. The year was 1996, and with the last All Black Series victory being in 1928, the All Blacks were eager to break this deadlock. The faithful day at Loftus Versfeld would be the final hurdle. Zinzane Brooke once again emerged as the man of the moment with a scrum special and a drop goal. This was followed by staunch goal line defence, which saw the All Blacks edge the box by 33-26. The English would also become victims of the All Black resilience, and after being defeated a few years prior at Twickenham, the men from New Zealand had a point to prove. Our number 9 spot goes to the thriller at Twickenham. With the 2018 Autumn Internationals in full swing, the All Blacks were already showing signs they were struggling. England was intent on capitalising on this, and in a thriller, England would put on a spectacular show. Thanks to a Barrett drop goal and 2 penalties, the All Blacks edged out England by 16 points to 15, reasserting their dominance over the North. Number 8 goes to a close, yet dominant display from one man, Richie McCaw. The All Blacks would win the 2011 Rugby World Cup with this match, whilst the All Blacks were clear favourites heading into the 2011 World Cup final. No one expected a resilient showing from the French to take the game down to the wire. However, an injured Richie McCaw soldiered on, leading his troops to the bitter end, and thanks to a try from Tony Woodcock, the All Blacks opened the scoring. France did retaliate, but a Stephen Donald penalty would seal it, followed by incredible defence and game management. Again, the French are on the chopping block for the number 7 spot. This time, we look at the stunning quarter-final of the 2015 Rugby World Cup. From the moment the All Blacks took to the field, the energy was different. Singing the anthems and performing the haka was just done with even more intent. Julian Surveyor was on fire and played a Jonah Lomu role throughout the game, but there was no doubt about who was the better side. As the final whistle blew, New Zealand humiliated the French and sent them packing from the World Cup. To this day, this is still one of the best New Zealand games ever. Number 6. Once again shows us what happens when defence becomes important. The 2023 edition of the World Cup between Ireland and New Zealand was a true show of this. In a game that has been building for the last 4 years, everyone was excited to see New Zealand and Ireland clash in the quarter-finals. The game was constantly on a knife edge, and every moment would shift the energy in a different direction. With the All Blacks in the lead, it was all down to the defence, and this proved to win the game. Staunch defence on the goal line would keep out Bundy Aki and his Chargers, sending New Zealand to the semi-finals. Number 5 brings us closer to the Pacific shores, where Samoa and the All Blacks met in a 2008 showdown. Samoa might not be on par with the All Blacks, but they always seem to be a tough game. However, this 15-try showdown was one for the books, and the combination of Conrad Smith, Mills Muliaina, and Richard Kahui would ultimately destroy the Samoans. In fact, New Zealand scored more than a point a minute throughout the game. Many might argue that Samoa was severely underpowered due to injuries, but such a powerful showing put the world on notice. Number 4 is a bit different, and instead of looking at one game, we are including the British and Irish Lions tour of New Zealand. This 2005 tournament was billed to be historic. Whilst the Lions did win almost all their first-class games in this tour, they fell short to a brilliant Dan Carter and the All Blacks in peak form. The Lions lost all 3 games by more than 20 points. Carter also found himself becoming one of the best players of his generation as New Zealand utterly thrashed the Lions. But number 3 forces us back to the World Cup, where we have to look at the 2015 final between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. If we look at some of the prior World Cup finals, it generally doesn't end up with high scores. Many would end with only 3 points being the difference. However, the All Blacks broke the Camels' back when they put up an impressive 34 points in the final. New Zealand would utterly dismantle the Wallabies, also setting up a stage for Beauden Barrett to make his name known on the grandest stage of world rugby. And when it comes to scoring, the number 2 spot belongs to the 1995 showdown in Bloemfontein, where the All Blacks sent Japan a message. There's not much to say about this game aside from the relentless quality of All Black rugby. Mark Ellis would run in a staggering 6 tries during the match, while Simon Culhane put up 45 points. The final score was 145-17, which still stands as the biggest defeat any team has ever suffered at a test level. Finally, we have reached the top spot, and nothing is as impressive as the 2012 showdown between the All Blacks and Springboks at Soccer City. In a highly anticipated match, which was held in front of 90,000 fans, the game would come down to the wire. With only a few minutes remaining, the score was tied at 22 points apiece. However, Nonu would break from deep setting up Israel Dag for one of the most impressive tries ever. This would ultimately be remembered as one of the best games ever played between the two nations. The All Blacks might not be at the top of the mountain anymore, but they remained the gold standard for well over 4 decades. The Springboks are now the most dominant force, so let us know in the comment if you want to see the top times the Springboks showed the world who is boss.